So welcome to the downtown walking tour. We're starting in the Heritage Garden of the museum. The museum was opened in this space in 1974, and we added the Heritage Garden in 2004 to turn a really ugly old delivery lane into this lovely little downtown green space. So I'm going to start by talking just a really brief reason of why downtown is where it is now. And as we start, I'll acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Sinixt First Nation, who had traditional territory here. They don't have a presence in Revelstoke at this time, and I'd really encourage you to go in and look at the exhibit inside to find out more about the Sinixt people and their story, and the fact that they're trying to, they were just recently had a Supreme Court decision restoring their territorial rights in Canada, or their Aboriginal rights in Canada. The town of Revelstoke itself was developed in 1885 with the coming of the Canadian Pacific Railway, and that's what created the town site itself. People started to come into this area during construction and started to establish businesses down close to the riverbank on what's now Front Street. Front Street now is completely residential, but it was originally the downtown of Revelstoke. That was the main town. That was where all the businesses were, the general stores, the post office, the provincial police, many brothels. That was downtown. And the town site was originally named Farwell after the surveyor of the town. He was actually a provincial surveyor, and he applied for a land grant in this region. And it's a very complicated story, but his grant application was filed just before the CPR filed their survey plan, which would have put this land under their control as part of the Railway Belt Act. But it's, as I say, it's complicated. It was in litigation for about 10 years before it was finally settled in the courts. But the upshot of it was that Farwell wanted to sell what he considered his land to the CPR. The CPR refused to deal with him at all because they said it should have been their land in the first place. And they, instead of putting their station and yards in his land, which probably would have put the station where the A&W is and Woodenhead Park. So instead of doing that, they would not negotiate with him at all. They moved their station and yards outside of his grant to where they are now. This original station was just slightly east of the station that's there now. And it created a rival town site in a way. There was actually, that one was called Farwell or Lower Town, this was Upper Town. Revelstoke, the CPR actually applied to or sent a letter to the Post Office Department of Canada asking them to officially change the name from Farwell to Revelstoke. And Van Horn, who was the vice president of the CPR at that time, said Farwell was just named after a squatter in the area. He had no claim on the land. The name is basically nothing. And we want it named after Revelstoke in honor of Lord Revelstoke, the head of the Bering Bank in England, which basically saved the CPR from bankruptcy by buying up a large stock option. So they wanted the name changed to Revelstoke. They had the political clout to do that. So for a while, the Farwell was being referred to as Revelstoke, and the part up here was being referred to as Revelstoke Station. But the businesses who had established down on Front Street were now having to pay extra shipping to get their goods brought from the station down to Farwell. And there weren't really any roads even back then, so it would just be like a horse and cart having to travel across it doesn't seem that far to us now, but back then, it was an extra cost, it was an extra nuisance to get your goods down to your store on Front Street. So businesses started establishing up here, and that's why our downtown is where it is now. It was because of a dispute. So it completely reshaped how the town developed. So we're going to walk through and look at some of the specific buildings as we go along.